Have you ever looked at your kitchen scraps and wondered if you were throwing away something your garden could actually use? Every day, banana peels and used coffee grounds end up in the trash, but with the right approach, both can become useful additions to your garden routine. And today, on Fresh Homegrown Harvest, we're going to look at exactly how to use them, what they can do for your soil, which plants may benefit, and, perhaps most importantly, the mistakes that can turn a simple homemade garden amendment into a problem. But before you grab a bucket and start dumping banana peels and coffee grounds around every plant you own, there's something important you need to know. These materials aren't a magical replacement for balanced fertilizer, and simply throwing kitchen scraps onto the soil doesn't automatically make plants grow faster. The real secret is understanding what each ingredient contributes and using them in a way that supports healthy soil rather than overwhelming it. Let's start with banana peels. Bananas contain potassium, along with smaller amounts of other nutrients. Potassium plays important roles in plant functions, including water regulation and overall plant development. That's why banana peels have become so popular among home gardeners looking for simple ways to recycle kitchen waste. But there's a catch. A fresh banana peel sitting on top of your soil isn't immediately available to your plant as a convenient serving of potassium. It needs to break down first. Microorganisms in the soil and composting process help decompose organic material and gradually release nutrients. So, when gardeners talk about banana peel fertilizer, what they're really using is a way of recycling organic material into a form that can eventually contribute to soil fertility. Now let's talk about coffee grounds. Used coffee grounds contain organic matter and some nitrogen, and they can contribute to compost when incorporated appropriately. They can also improve the texture of certain soils when used as part of a broader organic matter strategy. But coffee grounds have also developed a reputation that sometimes goes far beyond what they can actually do. You may have heard that coffee grounds are an instant fertilizer, that they make soil highly acidic, or that every plant will grow dramatically if you surround it with them. Those claims are oversimplifications. Used coffee grounds are not the same thing as brewed coffee, and they generally aren't extremely acidic after brewing. More importantly, applying large amounts of grounds directly around plants isn't a shortcut to a perfect garden. So why combine banana peels and coffee grounds at all? Because you're bringing together two different organic materials that can complement a healthy composting system. Banana peels contribute organic material and nutrients such as potassium as they decompose, while coffee grounds contribute organic matter and some nitrogen. Instead of thinking of this as a miracle fertilizer, think of it as a simple kitchen waste recycling method. And that change in mindset is incredibly important. The goal isn't to create some mysterious homemade mixture that forces plants to grow. The goal is to feed the soil ecosystem. Healthy soil contains microorganisms, organic matter, minerals, air spaces, and moisture. When you add composted organic materials, you're helping build the environment in which roots can function effectively. So, here's one of the easiest ways to use these ingredients. Compost them together, instead of applying a thick layer around your plants. Start by collecting your used banana peels and coffee grounds. Chop the banana peels into smaller pieces so they break down more easily. You don't need to pulverize them into a paste, but smaller pieces generally decompose faster than large whole peels. Then, add the used coffee grounds. Remember, we're talking about grounds left over after brewing coffee, not large amounts of fresh coffee grounds straight from the package. Used grounds are much more appropriate for the garden because brewing has removed much of the soluble material. Now comes the part many gardeners overlook: balance. A compost pile works best when it contains a mixture of different organic materials. Coffee grounds and banana peels alone don't create a complete composting system. You should combine them with other compostable materials such as dry leaves, plant material, and other appropriate kitchen scraps. Think of your compost pile like a recipe. Banana peels and coffee grounds are ingredients, not the entire meal. The dry leaves and other carbon-rich materials help balance wetter, nitrogen-containing materials. This balance allows microorganisms to break everything down more effectively. If you create a pile containing nothing but wet kitchen scraps and coffee grounds, you may end up with unpleasant smells and slow decomposition. A simple approach is to add a small amount of coffee grounds and chopped banana peels to a larger mixture of other compost materials. Then allow the composting process to do the work. And this is where patience becomes your secret weapon. You won't throw banana peels and coffee grounds into a bucket today and suddenly have rich compost tomorrow. Organic matter needs time to decompose. Temperature, moisture, oxygen, particle size, and the materials in your pile all influence how quickly the process happens. When your compost has matured, it can be incorporated into garden soil or used as a top dressing around established plants. At that point, you're not simply putting recognizable kitchen scraps into your garden. You're adding decomposed organic matter that can support soil structure and nutrient cycling.
Now, you might be wondering, can you use banana peels directly? Yes, but there are better and worse ways to do it. One simple method is chopping the peels into small pieces and burying them in a compost area or designated garden area where they can decompose. But burying fresh kitchen scraps directly beside a plant isn't always ideal. The material can attract unwanted pests, decompose unevenly, or temporarily create an environment that isn't particularly comfortable for plant roots. That's why composting is usually the cleaner and more reliable option. Another popular method is making banana peel water infusion. Some gardeners place banana peels in water for a period of time and then use the resulting liquid around plants. While this may provide some soluble nutrients, homemade banana peel water shouldn't be treated as a precise fertilizer. You don't know exactly how much potassium or other nutrients are present, and the liquid can vary considerably depending on how it was prepared. If your plants genuinely need specific nutrients, a soil test and an appropriate fertilizer are much more reliable than guessing. The same principle applies to coffee grounds. Instead of dumping handful after handful around your plants, consider adding used grounds to your compost pile. This lets the grounds become part of a larger organic matter system. Once composted, they can be much easier to incorporate into the garden. And there's another benefit to this approach. You're reducing waste. Think about how many banana peels a household produces in a month. Think about how many cups of coffee generate used grounds. Instead of sending all of that organic material to the trash, you can redirect at least some of it toward your garden. That's the real beauty of gardening. Sometimes the best garden improvements aren't expensive products sitting on a store shelf. They're simple systems that connect your kitchen, compost pile, soil, and plants. But let's talk about which plants may benefit most from improved organic matter and balanced fertility. Vegetable gardens are an obvious place to start. Tomatoes, peppers, squash, cucumbers, leafy greens, beans, and many other vegetables benefit from healthy soil. But that doesn't mean every one of these plants specifically needs banana peels and coffee grounds. The bigger goal is creating fertile, well-structured soil. Tomatoes are a great example. Gardeners often become obsessed with potassium when their tomato plants start producing fruit. But tomatoes need more than potassium. They need a balanced supply of nutrients, adequate moisture, good sunlight, suitable soil structure, and proper growing conditions. So don't think, my tomatoes need potassium, therefore I need to bury banana peels around them. Instead think, my tomatoes need healthy soil, and compost made with diverse organic materials can be part of that system. That small change in thinking can save you from a lot of gardening mistakes. The same goes for flowering plants. Potassium is involved in many plant processes, but adding more isn't automatically better. If your soil already contains adequate nutrients, continuously adding homemade amendments may accomplish little and could eventually contribute to nutrient imbalance. More fertilizer does not always mean more flowers. More coffee grounds does not always mean greener leaves. More banana peels does not always mean more fruit. Healthy plants need the right amount of the right resources at the right time. Now let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes gardeners make with coffee grounds: creating a thick layer around the base of a plant. It may look harmless, but large quantities of fine coffee grounds can form a dense layer that restricts water movement and air exchange. Instead of helping your soil breathe, you could create a crusty surface that works against you. If you're using coffee grounds directly in the garden, moderation is key. Mix them into compost or soil rather than creating a thick blanket around plant stems.
And never pile organic material directly against a plant stem or trunk. Plants need breathing room around their crowns and stems. Constant moisture and decomposing material pressed against plant tissue can create conditions that encourage problems. Give your plants space. Another mistake is assuming coffee grounds will dramatically change your soil's pH. Used coffee grounds are generally much less acidic than many people assume. They shouldn't be treated as a dependable acidifying treatment for plants that prefer low pH conditions. If you are growing acid-loving plants and need to adjust soil pH, test the soil first and use a method appropriate for that specific purpose. Don't guess. Your soil can tell you more than a viral gardening trick ever could. And here's another important point. Not every plant needs the same treatment. Some plants prefer leaner conditions. Some are sensitive to excessive fertility. Some thrive in nutrient-rich soil. Some prefer excellent drainage. Some prefer moisture. Some prefer dry conditions. So before adding any homemade amendment, ask yourself what the plant actually needs. This is one of the most valuable habits you can develop as a gardener. Don't garden according to ingredients. Garden according to plants and soil. Now let's build a simple banana peel and coffee grounds compost system you can actually maintain. Choose a compost container, pile, or tumbler that works for the amount of organic waste your household produces. Add your chopped banana peels and used coffee grounds along with other suitable compost materials. Then balance wetter, nitrogen-rich materials with carbon-rich materials, such as dry leaves, shredded cardboard, or other appropriate brown materials.
Keep the pile moist but not soaking wet. Think of the moisture level of a wrung-out sponge. You want enough moisture for microorganisms to remain active, but not so much water that the pile becomes oxygen-starved. Aeration matters too. Depending on your composting method, turning or mixing the pile can help introduce oxygen and distribute moisture and materials. Then, let time do its work. This is the part gardeners sometimes find hardest. We live in a world where we expect instant results, but gardens operate on a different schedule. Soil biology takes time. Compost takes time. Roots take time. Seeds take time. The garden doesn't care about our impatience. Once your compost has matured and developed a dark, crumbly, earthy character, you can use it as part of your soil-building routine. Spread a reasonable layer around garden beds or incorporate it into the soil when preparing planting areas, depending on your gardening system. And remember, compost is an amendment, not necessarily a complete fertilizer. That distinction matters. Compost can improve soil structure and contribute nutrients, but nutrient levels vary. If your plants are showing a genuine deficiency, don't assume a homemade mixture will automatically correct it. Look at the whole growing environment. Is the plant getting enough light? Is the soil staying too wet? Is it drying out too quickly? Are the roots crowded? Is there pest damage? Is the soil pH appropriate? Are nutrients actually deficient? Sometimes a plant doesn't need more fertilizer at all. Sometimes it needs better drainage. Sometimes it needs more consistent watering. Sometimes it needs more sunlight. Sometimes it simply needs time. That's why experienced gardeners don't reach for fertilizer every time a leaf changes color. They investigate first. And this brings us to perhaps the biggest lesson behind the banana peel and coffee grounds idea. Gardening isn't about finding one secret ingredient, it's about building a system. Your kitchen produces organic waste. Your compost pile transforms that waste. Your compost contributes organic matter to your soil. Your soil supports your plants. Your plants produce flowers, vegetables, herbs, and fruit. And those plants can eventually produce more organic material that returns to the compost system. That's a cycle. And the more effectively you close that cycle, the less waste you produce and the more connected your garden becomes. But let's also address something that can happen when gardeners get excited about homemade fertilizers. Don't become so focused on natural amendments that you ignore the actual needs of your plants. Natural doesn't automatically mean harmless in unlimited quantities. A material can be natural and still be inappropriate when overused. That's true of compost. It's true of manure. it's true of coffee grounds, and it's true of banana peels. Moderation and balance are the foundation of good gardening. So if you want to try this method, start small. Instead of turning your entire garden into an experiment, create one compost batch. Add your banana peels, add your used coffee grounds, balance them with other compostable materials, monitor moisture, allow decomposition to happen, then use the finished compost in a small section of your garden and observe how the soil behaves over time. That's much better than applying a huge amount everywhere and hoping for dramatic results. And here's a little challenge for everyone watching Fresh Homegrown Harvest. For the next month, save your banana peels and used coffee grounds instead of throwing them away. Chop the peels, collect the grounds, and add them to a properly balanced compost system. At the same time, start paying closer attention to your soil. Does it dry out quickly? Does water sit on the surface? Is it hard and compacted? Does it crumble easily? Do you see earthworms or other soil life? Does the soil smell earthy? These observations can teach you more about your garden than simply counting how many fertilizer applications you made. Because the ultimate goal isn't to create a garden that depends on constant feeding. The goal is to create a garden with healthy soil that supports strong plant growth naturally. So, can banana peels and coffee grounds help your garden? Absolutely, as useful organic materials within a sensible composting and soil-building system. But don't believe that mixing the two together creates a miracle fertilizer. The real magic is decomposition. The real magic is soil biology. The real magic is consistency. And perhaps most importantly, the real magic is learning how to recycle what you already have. That banana peel you were about to throw away can become part of your compost. Those used coffee grounds can become part of your organic matter cycle. Dry leaves from the yard can join them. Kitchen scraps can join them. And over time, all of these seemingly insignificant materials can become something far more valuable. Healthy, living compost for your garden. So, the next time you finish your morning coffee and peel a banana, don't automatically reach for the trash can. Think about your garden. Think about your compost. Think about the soil beneath your plants. Because sometimes the simplest gardening habits are the ones that make the biggest difference over time. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to Fresh Homegrown Harvest for more practical gardening ideas, natural soil building techniques, growing tips, and simple ways to get more from the garden you already have. Leave a comment below and tell us, do you already use banana peels or coffee grounds in your garden? And if you do, are you composting them first or using them another way? Remember, you don't need a perfect garden. You need a garden you understand. Feed the soil, observe your plants, avoid the shortcuts that sound too good to be true, and let nature do what it does best. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep turning everyday scraps into something useful. This is Fresh Homegrown Harvest, and I'll see you in the garden.